Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Glory Glory Man United podcast. As you can tell by the smile on my face, United have actually won a match and won convincingly against Southampton. And joining me today is two guests: Brush, my regular co-host, and Nigel, who's back on again for the first time in a while. How's it going, fellas?
Not too bad, thank you.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. All things considered, it was a lovely weekend. I usually get very nervous about these 12:30 kickoffs. I hate them when we play first because that can really set the mood for the weekend. And yeah, we got 3 points on the board, and then the Scousers lost as well to round off a fantastic Saturday.
Yeah, Carlsberg did Saturdays. So United didn't start off that well against Southampton. In truth, um, Southampton probably the best team for about 35 minutes. Then they got a penalty courtesy of Diogo Dalot, who struggled against that young winger all afternoon on that left hand side. And then Onana saves the penalty remarkably. Nobody really seen that one coming. And that totally changed the game. United with a better side from then on in. I think after the penalty save, United had 16 shots on goal and Southampton had zero. So that's how dominant we were. And we got three goals and perhaps should have got more. So Delict, who performed defensively really well on the day, then scored a header from a Bruno Fernandes cross. Could have had another goal before halftime, Delict. And then Rashford scored uh, a low curler into the far corner in off the post and was do wonders for his confidence. Van Nistelrooy was very happy with that one because I think he's been working with him on the training ground on his finishing. And then Garnacho rounded off the victory at the end. Dallo would switch sides at that point, and lovely ball by Casemiro to play Dallo in, and he pulled it back, and Garnacho just absolutely smashed it into the back of the net. And of course, Jack Stevens was sent off for a very high challenge on Garnacho, and the referee gave a straight red. Michael Owen thought it was a yellow, so that emphasizes the point that it was definitely a red. I mean, he caught it on the knee with his studs. Absolutely reckless challenge. So first of all, Nigel, what do you make of the performance?
Uh, I thought the penalty save changed the game. I thought they were playing much better than us, as you say, the first 35 minutes. When he made that save, it seemed to give us a lift, and we played much better. The combinations were much better in the second half, I thought. But let's remember, put it in perspective, guys. We were playing the team second bottom of the league who had lost the first three games. So we got a result. It's a results business. But I'm not overexcited by that. Just take each week as it comes. I don't particularly trust the judgment of the current coach. So I'm a game by game man this season.
Yeah, that's because we're playing very, very poor opposition. I mean, only Everton are lower than Southampton in the table, and we should be winning games like this, and we shouldn't be getting too excited about winning games like this. It's only because we had lost the previous two games that we were so delighted with the win. So we still have to remain cautious, don't we, Brush? We can't.
Absolutely. We have to keep in mind that we did come across terrible opposition, and they're probably in line to get relegated this season. So you have to keep that in mind. Yeah, like Nigel touched on. First half, I actually thought they were the better team for the opening 35 to 40 minutes. That penalty save really changed things. I felt sorry for Dallo as well. I thought he was getting run ragged down that side. Uh, Offered absolutely no help as well by Rashford. It has to be said. I know he got the goal, and that's great. But defensively, I'd like him to do a bit more and help out his teammate. And I thought Dallo was isolated a lot of the time, and it was no surprise to me that he gave away that penalty. It was bound to happen. Also, this goes back to the fact that we went into the season without an out and out left back. And we discussed this many times over the course of the summer, Carl, on how that could potentially cause problems. On the positive, though, I do think we stepped up. Delit, I was very impressed with his performance. He did very well. Garnacho's finish was incredible when he came on. Amad Diallo was probably the outfield player I was most impressed with. Very creative going forward. Very, the tricks and everything else. Xerxes, what to say about Xerxes? he's getting into good positions. And obviously, I will give him a bit of time because he's acclimatized into the league and that. But there's one or two chances where he absolutely should have buried it. And against better opposition, those chances will come back to haunt us.
Hello.
Sorry, my mic was muted there. Hopefully, you can hear me again.
Yes, can hear you now. Clearly.
So I want to come on to Delict, who performed really well, considering that he had a couple of poor performances against or for Holland in during the international break, and he performed well defensively, and he also scored one and nearly had another goal as well. So very pleasing that he was able to bounce back from a difficult spell with Holland, Nigel.
Yes, I was very impressed by that. Apparently, I don't know what Roy Keane thinks about it. Apparently, he went to see a psychologist and had his mind cleared of negative thoughts, quote unquote. Keano would have a laugh at that. A professional footballer on 200k a week. But anyway, definitely second half he got more and more confident. He hooked one out from under the bar, which was exceptional the way he moved his body to do that. And the goal he took. What do we always say? Like the lawman in vintage years, head the ball down, hit the corner, goalkeeper can't get near it. Very impressed. Can't wait to see his next game.
Yeah, it's brilliant to have so many options in defence as well, and still a young defender was so excited about yet to make his competitive debut. Um, Although one drawback is potential injuries at the back. I don't know how serious they are at the moment, but I know that three of the back four went off injured and only Gallo didn't. So, but we've got Barnsley tomorrow night, so it's an opportunity just to rest those players and give the likes of Maguire and Evans an opportunity in that game. So you could argue that Ahmed Diallo should have been man of the match. I think he was their best attacking player on the day. I didn't think he put a foot wrong. He was so creative. Obviously, he got one assist. Uh, he deserved a goal on the day, and so wonderful to see him performing so well after finally getting a chance. And now today, the news is broke that he's going to be offered a new contract as well. So that's really pleasing, isn't it, Brush?
Yeah, very much so. My only concern for tomorrow, Kyle, is the fact that with Eric, we've seen that he's been rather allergic to rotation. Um, and I just hope that he does rotate tomorrow because we need to keep these players fresh for the weekend against Crystal Palace. And yeah, towards the end of that game, the amount of defensive injuries it looked like we were having, even Maguire hobbling about, doesn't fill me with confidence.
It just always seems to be at the back where United pick up injuries the most. So hopefully nothing too serious in terms of those injuries, especially Lissandro Martinez, who's arguably our best defender, and he's had so many problems with injuries. Hopefully, there's nothing too wrong there. Yeah, even the substitute Maguire was hobbling around as well at one point, so they were just dropping like flies at the back towards the end of the game. But we'll see how that goes. The manager said today that Luke Shaw is still not ready to play against Barnsley. It's going to be a process, as the word he likes to use quite a lot. Um, so he's got options. I expect to see some rotation for that game, but we'll get on to that in a second. So Joshua Zirkzee really impressed me when he comes deep. That we've seen the clip being shared of him nutmegging someone and then playing a lovely ball into Ahmad's feet, which was the beginning of one of our chances. Um, and yeah, the just the one criticism of Xerxes is his finishing inside the penalty area. He's brilliant with the ball at his feet when he comes deep. Very, very creative player, but he's just not ruthless in front of a goal at the moment, is he, Nigel?
No, nobody. That could come as Bridget says. I mean, Brush says got it right with his the close control with Xerxes. His layoffs are good, but the player will tell you himself. I mean, the research was done on the guy before he was signed. He made it clear to the club he wasn't a number nine, that he'd all sorts of strengths, but scoring goals really, and his record shows he isn't that yet. But he has Ruud van Nistelrooy, and that is a man who can show people how to score goals. And if he gets the time he deserves, I reckon he can turn that round. He's only 23. He's got the opportunity, but he looks as if he enjoys playing football and playing with his comrades every Saturday. And you can't beat that when you get people who are involved, beginning to love the club and to get the atmosphere. I'm looking forward to a lot more from that player. I hope so.
Yeah, yeah, he's got very silky feet for a man with the physique of a rugby player. So that's very impressive. Um, but Christian Eriksen was probably the biggest surprise of the afternoon. Nobody seen him coming. Nobody seen him starting the game, and he did, and I thought he did well. This is the type of game where you can bring him in. You're playing very poor opposition, and he can sit in the middle of the field and dictate the tune. And you know he's going to get caught out if he's playing against the Liverpool press, for example. But in games against Southampton, he can easily play 70 minutes, and because he's going to have a lot of the ball, and his set pieces are excellent as well. And yeah, it was a surprise, but he done well. So in games against lower half opposition, we can afford to bring Ericsson into the team, can't we, Brush?
Absolutely, yeah. These kind of games are tailor made to him. We know the qualities he has. Obviously, with his age, like we know the legs aren't quite there, and even in this game, he couldn't last the entire game, and we had to be subbed off. But yeah, if you use him sparingly, he can be a very useful addition. So yeah, I've got no issues with that. I was very impressed. I was pleasantly surprised, I would say, with his performance. And yeah, just to touch on the Xerxes thing as well, like Nigel said, yeah, I hope the goals will come. At this stage, I'm looking at the fact that if he can he get into those positions, create those chances, which he can. So I like his movement. I like what he offers. I'm also intrigued to see what happens when Hoyland comes back because he doesn't take up the usual pockets. He likes to be in and around and buzzing around. So if you've got someone in the box, I would like to see how he plays off of another striker.
Yeah, I'm sure at some point we will see Xerxes and Hoyland in the same team, but that that would require a midfielder to be taken out of the team. So, or at least one of the wingers anyway. So, well, at least we've got options now. That's
Yeah, it's
that's
all about having options, isn't it? I don't think they'll fundamentally change anything, but I think maybe as the game goes on, if we could switch things up and go two at the top, it'll be interesting to see how they work together.
Well, put it like this, boys. Is this manager brave enough to do that? Is it part of the project which he continually talks about? I can't see it. He talks about a pattern. They're all buying into it. Will he allow Xerxes to play alongside Holland? I personally can't see it, and I hope you're both right that he will play that way. But I don't see. I think he's too negative, too afraid of losing games. He's not established yet, really, by the core fans as someone who will lead them to a Premier League in the years ahead. His judgment calls are dubious to me, so it'll be a complete surprise if he plays Xerxes deep and Hoyland up front.
Yeah, it's not going to happen against Liverpool or Arsenal. It's going to be against lower half opposition if he does it at all, or
Yeah.
even in a Europa League game or something like that. But Hoyland's obviously not fit at the moment, so we won't be seeing that just yet, regardless. So once again, Alejandro Garnacho comes off the bench and has an impact, scoring a goal this time, and it's just a fabulous player to watch. And the only game he started the season is against Liverpool, which he didn't play particularly well in. We're back to this old debate: should we, even though he played 40 games in a row last season from the start, should he be starting or does he have a better impact for the bench? I personally would still start him. I would have Diallo and Garnacho as my wingers, even though Rashford scored at the weekend. But it is good to see Rashford scoring. He badly needed that goal. So, Brish, given that Garnacho and Rashford scored, Amad Diallo was probably our best attacking player. Then in the next Premier League game at Crystal Palace, which two start for you in the wide areas?
Personally, for me, it would be Garnacho and Ahmad. Um, Even going into this game, I was a tad surprised. Well, I shouldn't say I was too surprised to see Rashford's name on the team sheet because it is Eric. I thought on form going into that game, I personally would have dropped him. Yeah, I was, happy for him to get his goal, but like I say, there's still other areas of his game that I'd like him to work on. I thought Dallo was completely exposed, and even with the goal, I think there was a slight, it was slightly fortunate as well because there was a couple of bodies in the way, so Ramsdale saw it late. And then there was one or two other points as well. I think it was in the second half when Diallo passed it out to Rashi. And if he just looks up, he'll see that there's options on where he can square the ball instead of just taking the shot on. So yeah, it's the same criticism, isn't it, with Rashford? I don't think he's going to improve on that anymore because he's at that age now where what you get is what you get.
Yeah, he had another long range effort that which Ramsdale tipped over. It was a very good effort from that distance. But again, it's an example of how he takes on the shot quite a lot rather than looking for a teammate. And yes, you're right to point out his lack of work rate as well, which is very, very disappointing. He talks about how much he loves the club and how much he wants to get back into form again. But again, there seems to be an attitude problem where he's just not working hard enough when United don't have the ball. And some people, I'm including ourselves, have likened his current body language to Anthony Martial. So yeah, it's still a lot to improve on for Marcus Rashford. And I'm sure Nigel, you would agree that you would have Ahmad and Garnacho as the starting wingers, which we've yet to see this season.
Without a doubt, without a doubt, the manager favours Rashford. So I agree with Brush that it's unlikely that he'll change that. But how many matches is Garnacho going to stay on the bench and either score a goal when he comes on or totally change the balance of the forward line by attacking defenders directly? Rashford doesn't do it now, Kylie. He stops, knocks it back, knocks it inside. Now, occasionally he plays these good balls across the goal, and that can get you a goal. But as Brush says, he's not working hard enough. And I tell you another thing: when the ball's in the air, do you ever see Rashford go up and compete with either centre half and win a header? Even if he doesn't win the header, if he get close enough and compete, he stands and watches them and lets them control the ball or head it out to the fullback, and then we're under pressure again. He doesn't get the work ethic. He's just he wants to score goals. He's not a team player anymore, as I can see.
And do you feel that he's coming towards the end of his United career and should be moved on?
Yes, I do, without a doubt. Without a doubt. There's enough players coming through, from what I can see, coming through the academy and the under 21s who will be putting pressure on the existing players. And if you can get good money for Rashford, thank him for what he's done for the club. But I agree with Brush. I don't see there's a sameness about him now, and we want change. We want to go up a level and try to get
He's
in.
27 now, Nigel. So
Yeah,
the same things we criticize him about now are the
yeah,
same criticisms that we had 5 6 years ago. So I
that's,
can't see it changing now.
that's right. Totally agree with that.
Yeah, he's not a youngster anymore. The Rashford we see now is probably the Rashford. It's probably as good as it's going to get, really, now until the end of his career. And yeah, we
I
want.
think it's a big season, Carl, for him and Anthony. I think those are the two. All eyes are going to be on them. Come next summer, those would be the ones that I would probably be looking to move on.
Yeah, well, Anthony, I think is a certainty to be moved on next summer because he's not even getting in the team. He's not even coming on as a substitute. And this is a manager who managed him at Ajax, and now he's not even using him anymore. And he's being asked in the press conference today, is he going to play him against Barnsley, which he wouldn't commit to. So yeah, he's just a write off from me. I don't think it's. Rashford has far more talent than Anthony, so he could turn it around. He's had a 30-goal season very recently. Anthony, no, he's just not at this level, and he's never going to be. So
Yeah, and if we take anything from the Sancho deal, is that under Ineos, I think they're willing to make those hard decisions and take those losses and be a bit ruthless. So I don't think we'll haggle over price either. I think if they see an opportunity to move these players on, they probably will take it.
Yeah, we remember, guys, that the manager said, and I heard him say it in a press conference, that Anthony was unstoppable, and that we yet to see how good he was, and that he would be would have a really major impact in the Premier League. All three of us can't see that, but does that undermine the judgment of the coach when we wanted Ahmad to play the last 6, 7, 8 games, and yet Anthony always started, and it just is so frustrating. It just makes me doubt the judgment of this coach is knowing a good player from a bad player. Any coach can buy a player and it doesn't work out. He has a stubborn nature, Ten Hag, where he just sticks with a guy because he bought him. And I
Mm.
don't think any of us should let him away with that. I agree. Anthony should be offset as soon as possible. But guys will not get much money for a player as poor as that.
No, we're really not, Nigel. I think, well, even at the time when we signed him, if we're being honest, we overpaid. We paid way over the odds. We probably paid double what he was worth at the time, to be honest. And even that, if you would, I doubt would claw that back. It would probably be something similar to what we got for Sancho if we were to sell.
Yeah, as Baron says here, Anthony peaked in his first 3 games. Didn't he score in his first 3 games for United? That was as good as it got. Yeah, and Realist says here, is Garnacho suffering from his own success because he's been used as a super sub and he keeps having an impact as a sub? Then the manager's just going to keep using him as such. Like Solskjaer, if you remember, he always wanted to start, but the manager would rarely start him because he did so well as a sub. Is that what Garnacho's suffering from now, Brush?
Uh, Kinda. I think we're just suffering from the fact that the manager's very stubborn. Because
I
in
Yeah.
those
agree.
days, obviously, we had four fantastic strikers, so it was difficult to keep them all happy and get them minutes. Whereas now we've seen that the starter is actually quite underwhelming, and then the manager just persists for whatever reason. If that's his favorite or because he's the senior player, I don't know.
Yeah, and as Nigel pointed out off air, now that Rashford has scored a goal, he's not going to be dropped now. He's going to absolutely 100%. He's going to start at Selhurst Park, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. But this is the thing, though. This is why it's important that we analyze the whole performance and not just a goal, because that can masquerade and cover over the cracks. Really, for me, you just have to look at Dallo and how he was just left to it by himself.
But he was getting absolutely rinsed as well,
He
Dallo.
was getting ran ragged that first half.
But yeah, but I have my issues with Dallo as well, as everyone who listens to this knows, and that was but that was one of the worst Dallo performances I've seen for quite a while. Uh,
To give credit to him, I did think he recovered in the second half, though. I thought he did better. But again, I have to be somewhat fair in my criticism because I don't see him as a left back, Kyle. And again, that goes down to management. They should have picked up an out and out left back in the summer.
yeah, or at least he should be playing Maserati out there and at least let Dallo play in the strongest position. Yeah, I don't get that position from the manager either, playing them on the
Yeah,
wrong
you
side.
know, when it's a player that we've had issue with, even in his preferred position, it's totally out of sorts to stick him somewhere else and expect fantastic performances week in week out.
Yeah, it was Tyler Dibbling. I never heard of him, but he destroyed Dallo in that first half, and yeah, and then it obviously the worst moment of the lot was him giving the penalty away. He had no need to lunge in there. By the way, that was his own mistake. You can't blame Rashford for that or anyone else. That was a totally needless lunge to make, and he gives
I
away.
think you know what I think it was total head loss, mate. I think because of the way he was getting run ragged, I kind of sensed that was coming. I think, yeah,
Yeah, but it's the art of basic defending, Brush, that gets me about
yeah,
that. He stands
definitely.
far too far off.
Hmm.
He lets the winger, whether it be him playing it right back or left back, he lets the winger once he gets the ball look up and find someone in the middle he wants to pass to. Gary Neville and the like of the Dennis Irwin, the great fullbacks,
Would
got
not have left that much space.
yes. And if you're physically fit, and he plays for Portugal as well, he's match fit. He should not be allowing those guys, and a guy who I've never heard of either, Kyle, should not be getting the room to play the way he got last Saturday.
Yeah, but we've had issues with Dallo's one-on-one defending before. I remember as far back as him playing against Danjuma, Villarreal, absolutely turning him to shreds. And it was that type of performance again. If he comes up against a very young, skillful winger, then he's in all kinds of trouble. And it looked that way again. Do you remember Kuzvanashvili of Napoli played against him in the Euros, tore him
Yeah,
into shreds, and then he didn't start a game after that for Portugal.
yeah,
So
he
yeah,
was taken to the cleaners. That's right. So he was. Yeah.
yeah, just not good enough in my opinion. Despite all these supporters who talk on social media about what how improved he's been under Ten Hag. I just don't see it personally, and I just don't think he's good enough. He's a rotational player at best, and yet he's a certain starter every single week for United. So that's just not good.
Same. That's how I see him as well, to be honest. But perhaps next summer we can address that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely have to. Um,
I'll
uh,
tell you what. Shout out to Mazraoui though. I've been pleasantly surprised with him.
So have
He's
I.
come in
Excellent.
and taken to the league like a duck to water. I had my doubts about him, Nigel.
Uh,
Obviously, I thought, if he was the guy, why didn't Eric get him 2 seasons ago when he was free before he went to Bayern? And then also his injury record was a bit dodgy as well. So I wasn't sure. I wasn't too sure about him. I wasn't sure if we were actually getting an upgrade on Wan-Bissaka because despite all of Wamby's the cons, as a one-on-one defender, he was brilliant. But yeah, Mazraoui, I've been impressed with him. He's come in and he's slotted in nicely.
yes, and he had a shot too. He got right up outside the box. But what I like about him, Brush, is that he delivers the ball with both feet very calmly. Doesn't seem
Hmm.
to phase him whether he gets the ball back quickly and he's able to turn and give it out with the right foot or inside with the left foot. That's quality. That's what we want to see.
and he dribbles past people as well. I've seen him do that quite a few times. On his one-on-one defending is pretty good as well. So yes, he's definitely a better all-round player than Wan-Bissaka, and 4 games in, it does look like that was the right call to make.
And for
Um,
the fee as well, it looks like very good
Yeah.
business.
This
Well,
always happens at United. The cheapest signing always turns out to be the best one.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you what.
well,
I'll tell you what.
well,
Carl post Fergie, one of my favorite signings has been Daily Blind,
yeah, yeah,
and he
yeah.
was similar. It wasn't a sexy name coming in. It was a reasonable fee, and he just did his thing.
He did. He tried hard when he did play. He definitely did. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
if by some miracle, and it would be a miracle, Luke Shaw ever reappeared and became the regular, if he was fit, the left back,
Oh,
I,
that ship has
I
sailed, Nige.
yes, I wouldn't have Dallow at right back. I would have the other fellow as my first choice right back from what I've seen.
yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, if when Luke Shaw is available, if it ever happens, have Shaw at left back and Maserati at right back, in my opinion.
Hmm.
How do you
Definitely.
see it, Rush?
Yeah, I was just going to say that ship has sailed for Luke Shaw. I've given up all hope now. There's no way that this guy can stay fit for a whole season, unfortunately, and it's a real shame because on his day, I do think he's a good player to have.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and apparently Malacia is actually making progress now, so it's actually a possibility here that Malacia could make an appearance before Shaw. That would be pretty damning from Shaw's point of view if that was to
That's one
happen.
of the great mysteries of the game, isn't it? We need to hire Scooby Doo to find out what's happened to Malasia.
Yeah, because yeah, Ten Hag isn't very transparent in his press conferences. He doesn't go into detail about injuries or anything. Um, this is a very good comment from Connor Beatty. He says Diallo can only mature more. Decision making and awareness needs improved. He does get into good positions and crosses nicely, but awareness to get into the channels and pass and goal and movement needs work. Interesting. I thought,
Definitely. I think that comes with time, though, Connor. I think he needs the good run of games, and he's never had that really, has he? And you can see it. He's starting to build connections, but not everyone else on that pitch is on the same wavelength, and that comes with time and consistency.
yeah,
Yeah, well, you see, Brooke, Brush, I worry about his self discipline. Kyle and I often talk about Dallow in that he has no discipline about staying where he's supposed to be. The
Yeah.
attacking thing can come when you're in top in the game, but he
Hmm.
disappears. He's in centre midfield some days. Then he's out in the left wing. I saw him on Saturday out
Yeah,
in the right
against
wing.
Brighton, Nige,
Yeah,
despite the goal, I was very
yeah,
happy that he got on the end of that. There was a lot of things that he did where it came down to discipline and not staying positionally aware,
yeah.
which concerned me. But again, I think that comes with time, doesn't it? And what it can be coached as well. And yeah, he's never really had a consistent run.
Right. Well, he's 25 years old now with a new 5-year contract. this is make or break for him. If the other fella gets in at right back and Shaw or Malacia at left back, he doesn't be an automatic first teamer for me.
But just to clarify, Connor Beatty was talking about Amad Diallo,
Oh,
not
Amad Diallo was the one I
Oh,
was talking about, Nigel.
oh,
As for Malacia, I mean, I don't know if we're going to see him again.
I doubt it. Yeah,
Yeah, I know that Diallo and Dallo does sound quite similar and can be a bit confusing sometimes. That's
right.
so maybe we just say Ahmad rather than using the word Diallo. So that would be helpful, I suppose. So yeah, I was just talking about Xerxes earlier. He's he seems to be better at the moment when he's further away from goal, but when he has like a chance from 6 yards out, um, I mean, he must have missed about four of those now between the Liverpool and Southampton game, which is disappointing. But if he was able to add goals to his game, he would be the perfect player, wouldn't he, Brush?
Absolutely, absolutely. But like Nige touched on, I mean, he's a self-confessed what 9.5. He calls himself. He's not the most prolific. His best return to date was last season, and it was a season in which he scored 12 goals, I think. So yeah, that's definitely an area of his game that he needs to improve on. For me, I'm happy that he's getting into certain positions. But yeah, there's some chances that he absolutely has to bury, like the one he had against Southampton, very late on from a couple of yards out. That has to hit the back of the net for me.
That was the
Um,
one that hit the defender's leg. He should have. He
yeah,
has to score.
he
Yeah,
has to score that. There's no excuses for that. At this level, you have to. You have to put those away. And at least one of the two chances against Liverpool, the header especially, has to find the net.
yeah. He's definitely not the complete player yet. Um, but
But I am hoping that comes with time, though. It
Yeah,
would
but
be concerning if you went the whole season without burying some of those.
yes, but Brush making a good point in that he's getting into those positions. They're not going
Hmm.
in at the moment. Look at the 5, 6 seasons where Martial played up front and didn't get into any positions. Wasn't even
Yeah.
interested in getting into those positions. He was hiding out in the left hand side and never was interested going
Yeah,
into.
in a player's first season, Nigel, I think that's the most important thing for me. Can they pick up those positions? Can they get into the right areas? Can they create the chances?
Yeah.
Because if they're not doing that, that's more of a concern. With this, it leads me to believe that you can improve on the finishing.
Yes, and Rude will be the man, Brush, to get him there. I hope.
Absolutely, there's no better tutor, really.
yeah, and in the circumstances, I'm going to be more elated when Xerxes scores a tap in from 1 yard out than him scoring from outside the box because I
Yeah.
know at the moment he can probably score spectacular goals from outside the box, but if he's getting in there and scoring a tap in, then yeah, that's a skill he doesn't have at the moment. So once he starts doing that, I'll be delighted. Um, Connor Beatty also said earlier that he thinks that Delict and Martinez are a first choice pairing. I would agree with that right now, but what happens when Lenny Yarrow is fit and available, Brush?
It's
Who's
a good problem to have, one, isn't it? There's enough games in our season that they will all get plenty of game time, so I'm not too worried. But I would agree with that right now. Based on the age and maturity of the players, yeah, Martinez and Delit, I would like them to just, secure that partnership. And having a young Euro on the wings, yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know if we're going back a few years, when we brought in a very, very young centre back at 18, sometimes he's eased in by playing him at right back. We've seen it with Phil Jones, and we actually seen it with Axial 2 and Zabi as well. Do you think that Laniero could play a few games at right back before he starts at centre back, Nigel?
Well, I think he's good enough from what I've seen and what I've read. He's certainly a self-confident player. If Real Madrid was interested and we got him, that's a top mark for us. So unlucky that he's got this metatarsal injury and out for 3 months. But I reckon he'd be chomping at the bit. And when he's physically ready, he's young enough to get over an injury like this sooner than most. And he'll be challenging. He'll not sit back and be prepared to be on the bench week in and week out. So the other two guys who are playing top level stuff will need to keep at that level. And as Bruce says, that competition is what we need. They have it in Manchester
Exactly,
City.
Nige. This is
Yeah,
this is what Man City have done over the years.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
they'll go and spend 50, 60 million on a winger, for the bench when there's two starters, and we need that level of competition. The only thing with Euro though, I hope we don't mess him about positionally, because as you asked that question, Kyle, I had flashbacks of Phil Jones, because we used to stick him in DM on the at right back as well. I prefer these young players to just you know learn their craft and really specialize in their preferred positions.
Phil who?
Nigel, I'll tell you what, I was so distraught. That was one guy where I remember seeing him at Blackburn, right? Pocket at Didier Drogba at 18, and I thought, "Whoa, this kid, he's gonna be future England captain." Him.
Duncan Edwards, Mark too.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I think Fergie made that comparison as well, didn't he?
Did you
But
ever?
yeah, genuinely, I thought that was one I got totally wrong. But he was very unfortunate with injuries. I think that's what derailed his career. But yeah, what a talent he was at a time.
Yeah, injuries absolutely ruined his career. Uh, so Manuel Ugarte made his debut as a second half substitute, and stats wise, it was absolutely perfect. He made interceptions, he made tackles. I remember making a tackle very high up the pitch,
Yeah,
and he never gave the ball away. It was
yeah.
stats wise, it was a perfect debut for Manuel Ugarte. So I want to see him from the start now, don't we, Nigel?
Yeah, well, it was 13 was the figure. 13 attempts, interventions all correct, and passes all correct, no mistakes at all. That's what we need, very definitely, to let players like Menu go further forward and develop their strategy and links with wide players. If we've got Ugarte playing at that level, that's you see the Rodri. Could he ever get anywhere near Rodri? That's what he should be setting his standards to, because he is a key man for City, and you need that position filled with resolve and purpose.
Yeah, this has been a position where we've been weak in. Maybe apart from maybe Casemiro's first season, but it feels like for most of recent history we have been weak in that position, and Ten Hag doesn't help, where he plays the number six quite deep and then two number eights so far away from him, and he can't play a simple pass to his other midfielders, and we see how we got caught out against Liverpool with that strategy, because he has to play the ball out wide, a risky pass out wide, then we lose it, or else he dithers the number six because he hasn't got many options, and then we lose it. So I mean, I remember Roy Keane being on the ball and Paul Scholes comes short and he plays a simple pass to him, and then Scholes will do his thing. But the number six for United doesn't seem to have that option. So yeah, I think Garte's got his work cut out under this Ten Hag system. But definitely we need a midfield destroyer in there to shore things up at the back for us, and do the simple things well. So Barnsley probably represents a good opportunity to give him his full debut brush.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was ideal conditions at the weekend as well for him to come on and get some minutes, especially when they went down to 10. So we were in total control. Yeah, I agree. Every time when I saw him, first thought that was in my mind was give him the number 16.
Give him Keno's number. Yeah.
Because we grew up on that. That is my standard for that kind of destroyer player. And yeah, we've missed that little bit of bite at midfield probably since Ander Herrera left. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. The only concern I have is how Eric Ten Hag is going to utilize him. Like Nigel touched on, I believe he's going to be sort of the sitter destroyer, which would then allow Mainu to go forward a bit more because he's technical on the ball as well, isn't he? So he can express himself a bit more. Under Ten Hag, though, I don't know how it's all going to work because he is more of a conventional destroyer, and Eric, by what he showed me, uh, has really shown me that he's after like a ball playing progressor. So I don't know how it's all going to go,
Yeah,
but hopefully it works out.
in an ideal world, Eric Ten Hag wants Frankie De Jong in that position. Uh,
Yeah, who's a different sort of player entirely.
yeah, he wants his number six to play progressive passes, and I don't think that is really Manuel Ugarte's game. Although we did see him play a wonderful pass to Palestri in a recent Uruguay game against Venezuela. You might have seen that on social media, but it's not something I expect to see too often. He does the simple things well, and maybe that's why we've heard recently from certain sources that Ten Hag wasn't really keen on signing Manuel Ugarte and had to be convinced by the new football board to do so. And maybe that's why, because he doesn't really have the skill set that he's looking for a man in that position. So, but this is the board making their own signings now, and going over they're not just going to keep they're not just going to sign players just to please the manager. They're looking at a long term project, and the manager may or may not fit into that. So Lenny Yarrow and Manuel Ugarte are both examples of players that definitely were not Ten Hag signings. The others may have been to some extent, but
And that's a good thing because last season we were sat here saying the manager's got too much influence on recruitment.
Yes, we did. Yeah, yeah. But it concerns me, Ten Hag's comment about Ugarte. If you remember, boys, he said could take this player. He doesn't know anybody. It could take him 2 weeks, 2 months before he even starts a game. Like he came on and had minutes, 11 minutes on Saturday. But is he going to start him against Crystal Palace? For me, he starts automatically. But with Eric Ten Hag as
You never know.
no, you do not.
Yeah, for me, he would be a shoo-in. But then, I'm from a certain school of believing that all teams need one of those destroyer type DMs.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you could see by his face on the when he was on the bench on Saturday. Did you see how keen he was? He wanted on. He was trying to get people's attention. He thought he'd be on sooner than he was. But with Ten Hag, it never works that way, does it?
no, he's very stubborn, as we all know. Uh, but yeah, whether Ten Hag was there long term or not, I think Ugarte is going to have a big future at United, because he's very much a Dan Ashworth signing, I believe. So and Ashworth's going to be here for the long term. Not sure about Ten Hag on that one.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, we're starting to build a team that's capable of winning the Premier League, hopefully, but still plenty of holes to plug on that one. Yeah, we were talking there about how much we love a destroyer. Me and Brush, well, probably the first one we remember is Keane, but the first one you'll probably remember, Nigel, is Nobby Styles.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. He was the right half in those days in the 60s, but what a stopper he was. And the old eyesight wasn't the best, so we would clatter a few.
I think he was the one in the English game that really brought the DM position to life, wasn't he, Nigel?
Yeah, he was absolutely, and he was a better footballer. He didn't play in a World Cup final by being an average midfield player. He knew what he had to do, and Alf Ramsey had full trust in him, and he earned his medal. He played very well in that tournament.
Yeah, and of course, the class of '92. I know Eric Harrison was their main coach, but I think Nobby Styles was also the assistant coach for that team when they were the won the Youth FA Cup, I believe. He
He,
was one of the coaches there.
he was indeed, but let's not forget Brian Robson. What a midfielder he was! What heart and soul did he put into every appearance he ever turned out for the Reds?
I wish I got to see more of him, but he was towards the tail end of his career when I started getting into it.
Yeah, United fans that remember the 1980s, some of them would still rather have Robson than Roy Keane. How do you feel in the Keane Robson debate, Nigel?
Well, you're talking to an Irishman now, so there's just a wee bit a wee bit of a call there. But people forget that when Brian Robson was signed in 1981, on the pitch, also signing the paper, was a young local lad called Remy Moses, who was an outstanding midfield player. And they complemented each other for a long while until Remy got an early injury and had to stop. Do anybody remember Remy Moses? What a footballer he was.
Nah, that's one that I'm gonna have to research, Nigel.
Yeah, yes, I know the name, I know the footballer, but obviously, it was too young to remember seeing him live. Never got that privilege.
Did he have to retire due to injury? Did he?
I
Yeah,
think
he did. Yeah,
That's a real
he may
shame.
have gone to another club and then just it didn't work.
Yeah.
It's so far back now. It's nearly 40 years ago.
yeah, that was the Norman Whiteside era as well, wasn't it?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
even with the class of '92, they used to speak very highly of Ben Thornley, who had to retire through injury.
yeah. He was a flying winger. He's very quick.
Yeah, yeah.
He is a regular on MUTV now, I believe. Yeah, he is.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he's there every week. Yeah, yeah.
Um, George here says the best Saturday since FA Cup final, 3-0 deserved win, and the Scouse scumbags beat, laughing my bollocks off. For me, you always play your best 11, try and win every game, worry about injuries later. Yeah, absolutely. But I do see some rotation in this Barnsley game. They're obviously got a couple of knocks at the back, so I would let them put their feet up until Palace and bring in Maguire and Evans if necessary.
Definitely. Because
Yeah,
especially after what Palace did to us last season, they got the double over us last year, and we can't let that slide.
yeah. And
No,
Brush, your point about left back and starting the season again. I would play Harry Amas tomorrow night. So I would. I've seen
mm,
enough
Yeah.
of him on the pre-season tour. I
Hmm.
watched all those games, and he did enough for me to deserve a chance tomorrow night.
Definitely. Definitely. I think Eric said it would take about 12 weeks for Amas, but yeah, tomorrow I think is the perfect game for him.
Yeah, and if you watch Barnsley so far, they haven't been playing that well. They've been in and out. I don't think they will have a winger who will destroy a young man's confidence in a League Cup game. He's playing at home. Let's see him and see what he makes of it big time in the starting lineup.
yeah, if Harry Amas is playing at left back, the absolutely perfect left centre back to play alongside him is Johnny Evans because of the
Correct.
experience that he has.
Yeah,
He will come to him.
absolutely.
Yeah, because we saw it in pre-season, even when Lenny Euro was playing. Johnny was right there next to him, instructing him and shouting orders.
Yeah, yeah, he's very much a leader now, because he has a wealth of experience, and yeah, I think we might unfortunately see Anthony in this game against Barnsley. I mean, hopefully not, because I've seen enough of him. But
I know.
Yeah,
I actually think this is the perfect game for him to show us something. Like
yeah.
just yeah,
What do you think about Toby Collymore, boys? I feel that he was thrown in at the deep end sub against Liverpool, and you can really knock a young player's confidence. I think get him
definitely.
back, get him starting and playing 90 minutes. Apparently the manager likes him, so this is the opportunity. I mean, he could have brought Ericsson on last week, but he put the young fellow on, and he tried hard enough. He was swamped by Liverpool midfielders, but don't let
He
him.
was thrown in at the deep end, didn't it, Nigel? Do you know, at the time I was really pissed off because I just thought, we're just keep feeding this kid to the wolves. There was one instance in particular which annoyed me where Salah just bullied him off the ball. But that kind of thing, it comes with experience. We set him up to fail. But overall, I thought the kid did all right.
So did I. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, he could well start this Barnsley game because, as you've mentioned there, Ten Hag is a fan of the player.
I
So
remember back in the day, the League Cup especially, like, this is the competition where we used to play all of our youth players.
yeah, I don't see wholesale changes in this game. Ferguson would have made 11 changes, but if
Yes.
you remember, Mourinho wouldn't have made any changes at all because he wanted to win the competition. So possibly only two or three, four at the most, I think, is what you tend to expect from Ten Hag in this type of
Hmm.
competition. Because as he says, he wants to win trophies, so he's not going to just give this game away. So I think that we might see four changes maximum here, and yeah, get a few people a chance that
Yeah.
haven't got.
Yeah, it's always nice to win a trophy, but I feel like this one we've already got under our belt. This season
Yeah,
they should really be aiming for the Europa League.
yeah. I
I
mean,
would change the goalkeeper too, guys.
yeah, we haven't seen much of
Yeah,
Bayern.
give Binder a chance.
Yes, why not? If he got an injury quickly, this guy
Yep,
hasn't played enough first team football. Definitely needs a full game tomorrow night.
He's only
definitely.
started against Newport, and that's it, really. I think that's
Yeah,
Yeah, early in the summer there was rumours that he was going to Celtic, but then they ended up signing Casper Schmeichel.
that's
yeah, it's
right.
a lot of experienced goalkeepers at Celtic. Um, yeah, I wouldn't bank on it. He tends to play Onana in almost every game. So
I'll
yeah,
tell you what, credit to Onana where it's due. After we've seen some of his shenanigans when it comes to penalties, I thought he was going to mess about, but he just kept it simple.
yeah, it wasn't a great penalty now, but yeah, it was a
It
good
wasn't.
save.
Yeah, yeah, because we saw the shenanigans against Haaland, and I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. Um,
Yes,
and in that friendly against Arsenal as well.
that's right. Yeah. He
Yeah,
changed the game. He was a big player for us on Saturday. That was
yeah,
vital.
yeah. It was a crap penalty from Cameron Archer, who isn't normally the penalty taker, I believe. So that was a strange decision, but it worked in our favour as it totally changed the match. Uh, so I am going to do some player ratings now. So I'll just share it around the panel. So Andre and Anna, I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. You know, you save a penalty, keep a clean sheet. It has to be at least an 8.
An
Uh,
8? Four,
yeah,
that's quite high. Because I tell you what, the penalty save, I suppose it was quite pivotal, but he didn't have much to do apart from that.
No,
yeah.
no, 7
I'm
for
going.
me, Kyle.
Yeah, I would have got a bit lower.
Yeah.
This is my rating, and I'm going to give him an 8. Okay, I give.
Well, it's your show.
Okay, Nigel, I'll give you Maserahi.
A good 7 for me too. He's steady. He's fitting in. Had a shot. The goalkeeper saved and did everything he had to do. Very happy with him so far.
And I'm going to give you the official man of the match, Bruce, Matthias de Ligt.
Well, if you've given a 9 or an 8, I have to go 9 for Dillit, don't I? I probably I probably would have gone for an 8 for Dillit, but yeah, he's outstanding. So yeah, 9. He
And
didn't really put a foot wrong, apart from one time, but there was a recovery though, where down that left hand side, I can't remember who it was now, but they blasted past him.
so Licha Martinez, Nigel.
Another 7, fitting in the back four. Distribution's very good. Seems to read the game very well. He is a quality player. I love watching him there.
And I'm going to give Diogo Dallo a 3 out of 10. Yeah, so give away the penalty, was being tore to shreds by young Tyler Dibling, who I'd never heard of until 12:30 on Saturday. Which isn't great when you're talking about a very experienced fullback here playing against a 17-year-old, and he's being embarrassed like that. So it would be a generous 3. Uh, Christian Eriksen, Brush.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Ericsson. I thought he was a solid 7. Um, yeah, he played about as long as he could, um, you know, before his legs started to go, and we needed that bit of energy.
Yeah, I think 73 minutes was beginning to push it a wee bit. Ericsson doesn't normally have energy for that long. So Kobe Menu, Nigel.
I think I'd give him a 6, Kyle. He's steady enough, but with his involvement with England and the matches so far, including the Community Shield, he looks a bit tired to me, a bit leggy at times. So he's not outstanding the way he was during periods, but he's played a lot of football, the young man. So he has to be given a bit of leeway. We can't demand outstanding performances week in and week out. So a steady 6 is my mark for him.
Yeah, there is a case to be made that the things that he does on the ball that we just expected from him now, we're not amused anymore. Um, it's just one of those where when he was doing it at the beginning, we're like, wow, but now when he does it, we're just like we expect it from him, so we're not wowed anymore. So I suppose that's why we're not getting he's not getting the praise that he used to get to a certain extent. But yeah, it wasn't a standard performance, no matter what way you look at it, I suppose. But definitely a steady performance. Amad Diallo probably my joint man of the match. To be fair, our best attacking player, and I would give him an 8 out of 10 for sure. Um, he obviously got an assist, but he probably deserved much more than that. He was just he did
He was
everything.
probably robbed of a few assists as well, Carl, because of the poor finishing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, he
I
just did
think he's
everything
his quality time. I think what I noticed exceptionally in this game against Southampton was the weight of the ball. When he delivers a pass, be it do you remember to Bruno or to Rashford, he's playing the ball beautifully in front of the footballer going forward so he can have a shot. The ball's not played behind anybody. He seems to have got that in his locker where he can play a quality pass in front of the attacking player, and that's invaluable when you want to score goals.
Yeah, whether it was passing or his dribbling, everything was spot on Saturday. He didn't make a mistake in the whole game. I thought. So well with his 8 out of 10, and Bruno Fernandes, Nigel, what did you make of his performance? Very slow start to the season now.
He hasn't started at all, in my opinion. Maybe it's the fact that every game I back him to score the first goal. Maybe I'm putting the scun on him completely, but really, remember saying to you on Saturday, I don't know what position he's playing, what he's doing. We're in Ten Hag's project. He moves them that many times depending on who's available. At the moment, I see Bruno in no man's land, not getting involved. Do you remember my comment about he's the captain of the team? We demand more from him here. We're playing the second team at the bottom of the league. Let's get going, Bruno. It never happened. Now, Ericsson started taking the corners and the dead balls, which I thought was interesting. Right enough, he found Bruno, and Bruno crossed the ball for Delict's header, which was a beautiful ball. But if you're talking about 90 minutes play, it's a five, no better than that for me, Bruno. I didn't see Bruno have any impact really on the game.
Yeah, I thought it was a very lackluster performance from our captain.
But as always, even when he plays badly, he contributes in one way or another, and he did so, as you say, with the opening goal. So Marcus Rashford, Brush.
Yeah, again, well, similar vein to Bruno Fernandes, where stats kind of flatter to deceive and masquerade the issues. So I was very happy for him to get his goal, but overall play over 90 minutes, I wasn't that impressed. Completely left as a fullback isolated, decision making again, not looking up, not seeing other players on in better positions. No more than a 6 for me.
Yeah, that's fair. And Joshua Zirkzee, I thought, had a really good game. Especially when he's coming deep. He's nutmegging people. He's picking out a perfect pass, perfectly weighted pass to Ahmad, and doing all kinds of stuff like that. But then not scoring from 6 yards out on two occasions
Mm.
is very frustrating. So I'm going to cheat and give him a 6.5.
Yeah, a goal really would have changed it for him. Like that was the only thing missing from his performance, really.
Yeah, definitely. If he can add goals this game, he's going to be a wonderful player for United. And Eric Ten Hag, Nigel, what does he get after winning 3-0 at the team's second bottom?
Well, he gets more than he normally would from me. I'll give him a six because it's a results business, and he got a 3-0 win away from home. But his substitutions, his whole attitude to the way he doesn't get the United way. I don't think he's too much in his head, too much analysis. I don't see it as a team improving going forward under this manager. So a six for me, got the result, and that's it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Nobody's getting carried away after beating a team that's lost 4 out of 4. And let's be honest, we were outplayed for 35 minutes before the penalty was saved, which is it was going the way of so many games under Ten Hag where we're getting outplayed by an inferior team and looking like we're going to lose the game. If we'd have lost that game, we'd been sitting here talking about Ten Hag being sacked. It would have happened
Yeah,
already.
listen, that first half an hour, I was thinking, oh, it's going to be one of those days, isn't it?
Yeah,
So yeah, the scoreline doesn't really tell the whole story, but I'm glad we got as many goals as we did, and our goal difference is now back to a whooping 0.
yeah. Oh, that represents progress. That's how bad we've been recently in Premier
Yeah, the
League.
fact that it's not in the minus.
Yeah. The stat that gets me, boys, is that Eric Ten Hag has lost 16 out of the last 41 Premier League games. And how he is still at the club is just beyond me.
And
Uh,
our it's our record against the top 6 that really concerns me. And
yeah,
yeah, we seem to get walloped as well, and we don't seem to dish out those to anyone else.
no, no. But Ugarte can help because the team so far this season have been walking through our midfield. It
Oh,
has,
absolutely, Nigel. Oh, that pissed me off,
yeah,
because I thought his lessons were learned very late on last season. Because against Brighton and against City in the cup, I
yeah.
thought finally he's figured it out. Like the pennies finally dropped, and then this season it's like we've taken 2 steps backwards. Um, I was disgusted by Casemiro's performance against Liverpool, but at the same time, in retrospect, when I looked back on it, he was not helped at all by the manager.
No, no, no. I think
He was set up to fail. It just highlighted all of his weaknesses.
yeah, I agree completely. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just the lineup in the FA Cup final, the way he set the team up, that is not the way he wants to set the team up. He just did that as a one-off, and really, again, especially against teams like Liverpool, City, and Arsenal, he should be always be setting his team up that way. But that's just not the way that he wants to play football, and it's going to get him sacked, in my opinion. I know we won, and people want to be positive, but I don't see Ten
The
Hag.
key thing we got to remember, lads, is that they haven't offered him a new deal. They just, use
No.
the option. So there's every chance that they're watching him just as closely as we all are this season.
Yeah. And the next three games are Palace away, Tottenham at home, and Villa away. These are tough fixtures, and he needs to win these games if he wants to stay as manager. So
Yep. Because Tottenham really should have at least got a draw yesterday. That's going to be difficult. Aston Villa, we know, are on the ascendancy. And what a goal! The winning goal against Everton the other day. Oh, that was special.
Fantastic goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Grand. But yeah, next game is Palace. We lost 4-0 there in May. Um, Ten Hag absolutely needs to reverse that result, and we need the points desperately. So if we go and lose that game, then he's on the brink again, isn't he, Brush?
Yeah, it seems that way. It seems that it's going to be one of those dodgy seasons where if there's a bad result, all eyes are going to be on him. Pressure's going to just start mounting. And I've always said, like, I'm prepared to lose games. Like, it's not so much about losing games; it's the manner in which you lose. And it's just been very unconvincing. If we could see that he's working towards something, I think people would be, more in line to get behind him.
If we lost one every 10 games, you'd accept that. But see, you're getting your back-to-back losses, you're getting hammerings to rivals. You're just not going to accept that. We can't lose half our games. That's just absolutely unacceptable. And that's the way it was last season, basically. So we want to see an improvement this season, and if that's not going to happen, then the manager has to be, relieved of his duties. So he needs results, and he needs them now. Got the win against Southampton, but there's much tougher games coming up. So he needs results. If he loses two of these next three games, then the next international break could see him being, relieved of his duties. So let's see how it transpires. So we've been talking for over an hour now, fellas. I thought there was going to be lots to talk about after the Southampton game, and looking ahead to Barnsley and Crystal Palace as well. So, been a pleasure as always to have you on the show, Brush.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Always good to talk to you guys. This is therapy. This.
Yeah, and you too, Nigel. Haven't had you on.
Okay. Thanks a
April, I
lot.
think. All right, I'll see you both later.
Okay.
Take
Cheers.
care.
Take care, bro.